Touchdown times. Touchdown times. Won't you look at the time? It's time to get some tutties. It's touchdown times.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Touchdown Times. This is me, the one of the co-hosts, Eli Selvage, aka Savvy Sav. Also got my co-host as well on the air. We got Andrew Lopez, aka Alo. How you doing, Andrew?
Hey yo, what is up, guys? Glad you guys are tuning in. We got another exciting week of touchdown times and a special guest for you. So, excited for this week, man. Let's talk some football.
As always, feel free to grab a brew, come sit down, hang out, and yeah, just we got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about today. So this is going to be our week 9 recap and week 10 preview. I got got not the best matchups this upcoming week, but I think it's some good ones to talk about. So should be a good time. And yeah, so I'll just jump right into it. I'll introduce our special guest we have. He's one of my good friends from college, a man from San Diego who had his heart betrayed by his former favorite team. He stands as tall as the sequoias. He is the one and only Christian Adam, aka Tree. Christian, how you
Hey,
doing, man?
what's up? I'm doing well. Thank you for the nice intro.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. All right, so we'll just jump right into it. As I mentioned, you had a former team betray you, and now you are a certified hater. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And which team would that be?
I was a big Chargers fan my whole life. Then Spanos tried to rip away my baby, and he succeeded. And now they're in the Big Brother LA city.
It's tough, man. Can't believe they'd go to LA. Like as a Padres fan as well, I know you despise the Dodgers, so the fact that they go to that city, that's got to be tough, right?
Yeah, yeah, real tough. It was nice the first couple years that they went there because they were just hot garbage. But now it looks like they might be putting something together this year, and I'm a big hater once again.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, okay, speaking of that, do you have a team that you'd still follow that you like?
I got a bunch of friends from the Bay Area who are all Niners fans, so it's been fun to jump on that bandwagon and join in their misery, albeit at a higher level than the Chargers ever made it. But
That's
no,
fair.
I'm not a huge fan of anybody. Just a big Chargers hater.
All right. All right. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so when you were a Chargers fan, do you have a favorite moment or maybe a game specifically that has always stuck with you and meant a lot to you?
You know, I do, and not for any good reasons.
Ah, okay. Okay, so which moment would that be?
I
Story
can kind
time.
of set the stage. 2006, LT's MVP year. The Chargers are 14-2. Get a first round bye in the playoffs. I think they went on like a 10-game win streak to end the season. First round bye in the playoffs. Second round, we meet up against the Patriots. Everything looks good. Chargers are up 8, fourth quarter with about 4 minutes left. And we have Tom Brady in a fourth down. He throws an interception to someone I had to look up. I thought it was Kaysen or Jammer. It was Marlon McCree. Intercepts Brady on fourth down, tries to return it for who knows what reason. We're up 8, fumbles, gives the ball back to the Pats. Pats score, 2-point conversion to tie it up, go on to win because Nate Kading, our ass kicker, missed a 54-yarder to try and tie it at the very end of regulation, and he couldn't do it. So
Damn.
that's the one game that sticks with me, and it's a tough one.
Oof.
That that is rough. That is really bad. Is that the same year the Pats went on to win the Super Bowl? I think they beat the Eagles that same year, 2006.
That sounds right.
I think that was. Okay. Okay. So we both have some hate during that playoff run. So damn man, if one of you guys could have stopped them, maybe would have a chance and that's tough. Okay.
Yeah, not great. You know, looking back on it, it was the furthest the Chargers ever went, the best season they ever had, and at least while I was a fan, while I was alive. I don't know about the Fouts years, but um, it's the one thing I look back on. What if?
It's always the what ifs, right? It's always tough in sports. All right. Well, looking towards the present now, do you have some favorite players in the league that you enjoy watching just on its own?
I mean, it's a quarterback league, so the quarterbacks are my favorites. You got Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson just getting crazy every single week. I've also really liked the young guys, Caleb and Jaden. He's still
Jaden.
young.
Yeah,
Jaden
the rookies.
going crazy. Yeah. So it's fun to root for the new guys and see the guys that are in the league still performing and seeing the old guys like Flacco still somehow kicking around.
Still
Yeah.
ball out, yeah. This
Jameis, as terrible as Jameis has been so far this year, seeing him is still cool.
What a character. We talked about that last week. Jameson Winston, he's a character. Yeah, he's
it's always funny to see all of his videos and interviews, but good times with that. Okay, nice. So then just my last question for now. I'd safe to say your favorite player was Tomlinson of all time.
Tomlinson, Gates, or Breeze,
Okay.
top three.
Top three from there.
Real
Nice.
easy to become a Saints fan for a year or two after the Chargers kind of kicked him to the curb.
Were you happy to see him at least get that Super Bowl out there?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it was definitely great
You
for
can't
this.
do it here. If you can't do it here, at least you got to do it somewhere.
Exactly. All right, nice, nice. Well, thank you for those answers. We'll ask a few more questions later regarding fantasy. But for now, we'll move into the recap of Week 9. This is the section where we'll go over some of the highlight games, talk about some of the big plays that maybe happened, and I'll ask a few questions about the outlook for these teams. So we'll move into a recap of Thursday Night Football. We had the Texans taking on the Jets. The Jets take the win, 21-13. My question, but I'll start with you, Christian. Do the Jets have a chance to make playoffs? And can Adams and Wilson both be fantasy relevant on this team? Because they were this time, but I'm wondering if that's going to be week to week or, who's going to shine more.
I mean, I think that question answered itself. What we just saw, what Wilson had 30, Adams, I don't know what he finished with, 17, 18, both great games. I think that's the spark the Jets need. They have two elite wide receivers. They just got rid of Williams today. I think he went to Pittsburgh actually. So
he
there you
did.
go, Andrew.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, they just have too many good skill players to not be relevant. I think they'll be a playoff team.
Yeah, I think that was their big game. Even though they took on a fantasy or injury riddled Texans, that was still a spark that they needed, and I think they have a good shot. Andrew, so I'll ask you, I'll ask on the flip side. What's wrong with the Texans? It seems like they've been sliding these past few weeks. Is it just the injuries, or are they going to be able to maintain their hold in their division?
Ooh, yeah, I definitely think the injuries play a factor in that, right? You have Nico Collins, he's on IR right now, Stephon Diggs with a season-ending injury, so that's definitely going to affect their wide receiver room. It's nice to see Tank Dell step up in a game like this, right? 6 receptions, 126 yards. He's stepping in to fill that role, but they need more, and I think they're in the past, past couple games too, they had Mixon on injuries, and now they have the receiving core that's kind of missing there. So I think this team just really needs to stay healthy and come together, and they can get back to some winning drives. They're still top of their AFC South standings right now with a 6-3 record. I really think they can continue to stay atop of that. They're 2 games ahead of Indianapolis. So they're on top there. I think they can stay there. Um, yeah, so that's kind of my thought process behind it. I think they just need to get healthy and get back on track, and they really have a shot at playoff contention here for the Texans.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's just a few injuries, but their division I think is so dog shit. The rest of them, Jags are disappointing this season. Titans are, they have barely any wins, and Colts are the only ones, and they don't even can't figure out who their quarterback is right now. So yeah, it
Hmm.
just seems like they're back and forth. But good game though, good win for the Jets, and I think yeah they'll have a good positive outlook for now. All right, moving into the Bills and the Dolphins game. This one was a tight one. The Bills end up eking it out 30 to 27. Very, very close game. And yeah, Bills were able to push through and get the win. Start with you, Andrew. What did you think of this game? And, are the Bills, they are the clear team there, but is it too late for the Dolphins? They have everyone healthy back. Um, but do they need to climb up this mountain? Is it too much for them?
I think at best they are a wild card team. With the loss against the Bills this week, it's they were in the situation that the Jets were in the same week, right? It was kind of a do or die situation with a 2-6 record. It's really hard to come back from that. They're second in their division, or they're third in their division behind the Jets and Buffalo. This would have been a great game if they came out on top of this. And I think it came down to possession, right? And we had talked about that last week where it's these are two high powered teams. Tua's back, he's healthy. They have Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle and HN and everybody's healthy. Everybody's back together now, but it just came down to possession. It came down to clock management, came down to possession, and the Bills had the game-winning field goal at the end. Tyler Bass kicks a 61-yard field goal. Not an easy field goal to kick, still comes out on top. And it puts them in the W position, and they walk. The Buffalo Bills walk away with a win. Sad to see if you're a Miami's Dolphins fan. You're a 2-6 record. You had a lot of hopes coming into the season with a high-powered offense. Tua's injury really kind of derailed that, and it's really hard to think that they have a chance at playoffs with a 2-6 record right now in the season. I'm saying wild card at best here.
Okay. Okay. And I'll move that over. Kind of similar question to you, Christian. Do the Dolphins still have a chance? And looking at their schedule, just really quick, they play the Rams, the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Packers like the next 4 weeks. I think they can win two of those games. At a minimum, I think they can beat the Raiders and the Patriots. So, do you see them maybe getting back on track?
Absolutely. I mean, if Tua can stay healthy, that's all it is going to take for them.
Yeah, and
Like
I
you
think
said, I can see them at least going 2-2 in their next four. And I mean, that puts them in a pretty good spot for the wild card. The AFC isn't super strong after those top 4 or 5 teams, but with the expanded playoffs, I think they'll be fine.
yeah, I think the expansion of the playoffs should help. And yeah, the rest of their divisions also having some issues with the Jets fighting for that same spot. So yeah, I think it should be interesting. But yeah, congrats to the Bills. That was a solid win for them. All right, moving into this next game. This was closer than I wanted it to be, but we had the Jags taking on the Eagles. Eagles end up taking the game 28 to 23. I was hoping that they would cover. I think it was about a 7.5 point spread, but they couldn't. The Eagles actually scored in the first quarter, which was nice to see. Were one of the worst teams at that this season, but it seems like they were able to, get things together again, and their offense has been humming. But we were starting to slip in the second half. Jags started to make a comeback, but luckily the Eagles were able to seal it towards the end. I was very happy with that. Big question I'll ask both of you guys. Did you guys see the Saquon backwards hurdle? Andrew, I'll start with you. How'd you think of this offense? Do you think the Eagles has it going?
Yeah, yeah, no, this Eagles offense has always been high powered and definitely one of the playoff teams on the NFC side of the bracket here. That Saquon Barkley is a highlight for his career. I think he bounced off someone, spun, broke a tackle, and then did a backwards hurdle. That's just a crazy play from him, and it's Saquon Barkley. It's what we come to expect is some crazy plays and him not to go down so easily. I on the flip side of the ball with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 2-7 right now, and it just seems like they haven't figured out their offense, especially with Christian Kirk hurt and Brian Thomas Jr. It doesn't seem like they have a wide receiver core to throw to in this sense, and I think it's really hurting them because they're playing one dimensional, right? At that point, you're running and you're doing medium to short passes with Evan Ingram, and it's just not going to do well, especially when you don't have a clear cut back either. Travis Etienne Jr. and Tank Bigsby, they're splitting that backfield role. Etienne Jr. is probably who I would go with, considering he's more of the pass catching back. three, he's getting more of the receptions in that regard, but it's still a very, 40 to 60, 45 55 split. Not very good for fantasy relevancy. It really sucks if you drafted Etienne high. I think he went as high as round two. Round three in some people's drafts there, so it doesn't seem like they're going to get a lot of production out of him, and they're not a playoff contention team, so it's just they got to figure out their offense, they got to figure out their passing attack, and it doesn't help that Trevor Lawrence is throwing two interceptions this game. So, um, great win for the Eagles, but the Jacksonville Jaguars got to get it together.
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep on the Jacksonville Jaguars and I'll ask you, Christian, uh, what's going to happen with them? Is Doug Peterson on the hot seat? Did they need to move on for Trevor Lawrence? I feel like they've given him a lot of weapons to work with, but it just seems like he makes a lot of mistakes. Do they have a chance in the future, or do they think they need a clean house?
I mean, you just paid Trevor Lawrence. I think you need to stick with him. I think he's an NFL quarterback. I don't think he's got a question mark hanging over his head like some of these other guys. He is having a super down year, but I think you make a change of head coach and see what kind of change that can make on your team. Because you have the stars, you have the roster. ETN hasn't been doing anything all year. I know Kirk's down, but you have a great team, decent team on paper. What's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and yeah, it seems like their defense has given up a lot too. So I don't know if they need to start focusing on drafting for that side of the ball, but it seems like there's just a lot of holes that they're having issues with. Um, but anyways, yeah, just happy with my Eagles. They're on a 4-0 streak since the bye, so definitely needed it. I'm glad to see this offense coming together. Sucks that AJ Brown seems to have a little injury from there, but playing the injury-riddled Cowboys next week, so we'll get more into that as we go through our preview. Um,
Speaking of coaching changes or possible coaching changes, Eli, what do you think about the Eagles? This should not have been a close game.
I agree. I agree. It shouldn't have. And I think we just let the foot off the gas pedal towards the second half. Just gave up a lot of big plays, and I don't think I have my own issues with Sirianni, but I have faith in him to turn stuff around when he still has the locker room. I think what happened last year was he lost the locker room. The team, all confidence fell apart. And once you had some injuries stack up, especially losing our top receivers towards the end of the year, they just gave up. I think this year we hit our lull early enough so where the locker room is still confident, we can still get it back together. And what I'm seeing right now, I'm liking it. I know we gave up a lot towards the end second half, but I still am liking this team. So I think the big one I'm waiting for is the Washington game,
Yeah.
and that's going to be the fun one. And yeah, can't wait for that. It's going to be a Thursday night game. Should be a really good indicator on who's the better team in that division.
It's
Um,
in 2 weeks. Speaking of, the Washington Commanders and Philadelphia Eagles, Eagles are 6-2, Washington 7-2, atop the NFC East standings. I think that Washington game in, 2 weeks will be a determining factor for who's going to be on top of that NFC East standings. Um, what are your thoughts about going up against Washington and Washington, and it seems like you guys got a lock, with the Cowboys this week. Obviously, the injuries play a significant role there. But any given Sunday, Washington's up against, Pittsburgh this week. Maybe a little bit of a closer game, but still a winnable game for Washington. What are your thoughts on the conference and how it's projected right now?
right now, it's really just those two teams. I think Dallas is out of contention. They've already had enough losses. Dak's down for a few weeks now, so I don't really see them getting much further. But with Washington, we look at their schedule. They've lost to the Bucks and the Ravens. They've beaten the Giants, the bad Bengals at the time, Cardinals, Browns, Panthers, barely beat the Bears, and then the Giants again. Those are all pretty bad teams. I think Arizona's the only one that has a winning record now. Before then, they weren't doing too hot. So it's I don't know. It's not as impressive. They happen to have a weak schedule because they were bottom, one of the worst teams in the division last year. So I think they are having the same schedule the Eagles did. I think it was 2 years ago when we had a really good run. It's just because we didn't have a lot of the best teams to have to play against. So I think it's inflated. I think there's a good chance that it'll be a fun one. I think it'll be a good test of their defense going up against our offense. So, but we'll go over that probably next week when we have our preview. But
Hmm.
hopefully, I'm hoping the Steelers can get the win, and that'll give us a better chance to have a lead at the division.
I'm with you.
All right, so moving into the next game, we have an NFC North matchup, very big one for possibly the lead of the division. We have the Lions who took on the Packers. Lions pretty handily won this game at 24-14. They now move up to 7-1. They are top of the division. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a hell of a catch. And my question to you guys is, who could beat the Lions in the NFC? The thought would be earlier in the season, the 49ers and the Lions would probably be the top teams. It doesn't seem like the Niners have it together. It seems like the Lions can beat every team in their division. They're not scared of them at all. They kicked the shit out of the Minnesota Vikings. They just, took out the Packers. Even though Jordan Love had a little bit of injury there, they were able to do that. So, I mean, are the Lions, are they the ones to beat? And do they have a chance to, maybe have to take on the Chiefs? And that'll be a fun one. So, I'll start with you, Christian. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the Lions are the team to beat in the NFL, not just the NFC. I mean, they're the kings of the toughest division right now, and they don't look like they're having problems with anybody.
Yeah,
I know
would
the
you?
Chiefs are, I know the Chiefs are undefeated, but if I was handicapping that game right now at a neutral site, it might be a pick 'em. I'd probably have the Lions.
That's fair. I would too. I think that would they have to be the favorites right there.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at their pretty dominant performance in Green Bay? Because I thought Green Bay was a pretty solid team too. Do you think it was Jordan Love maybe still having some issues with his ribs, or do you think he was healthy enough to where it wasn't an issue?
I think it was more the Lions D than it was the Packers offense. And that's a scary thought because we know all the studs the Lions have on offense. But if their defense keeps producing this way and keeps other dominant offenses from scoring, I know Love might still be feeling a little hurt, but he didn't have a bad game, and the Lions still kind of kept him off the board when it mattered.
Yeah, and on
Yeah.
top of that, the Lions just picked up Zadarius Smith from
Yep.
the Browns, so they added another pass rusher to kind of help out with after losing Aiden Hutchinson. So, Andrew, I'll move that to you. What do you think of adding that piece? Are the Lions just the team in the NFL to beat?
Yeah, the Lions are definitely the team in the NFL to beat right now. I think they're ranked first overall in my eyes. Along with that, I think that the Lions in the Green Bay game, I think it was a combination of just the Lions having a better defense, and then them stepping up in that game. I think they have a hard hitting defense that came to play in Green Bay. I think one of the other variables in that game that played a significant factor was the weather, the rain. I think Green Bay is a passing team, and when you throw the rain in there and a hard hitting team, it's just there's gonna be turnovers, there's gonna be fumbles, there's gonna be missed catches, and I we saw a lot of that on Green Bay's side. Not to discredit them and their big plays and the receptions that they did have, but Jordan Love had an interception that was just like, what kind of throw was that? Was that because of the rain? Was it a little bit slippery in that sense? That ended up being a pick six, and I think that turned the tide for them. And it was pretty crucial in that game. But the Lions have a high-powered offense, and they have the weapons to produce. And now the Lions have Zadarius Smith, kind of fills in that Aiden Hutchinson role for them. And I think right now where they're with this 7-1, they are the team to beat, and they're definitely in playoff contention, and especially the NFC contention just in general. That side of 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 the conference of the league, really. I mean, you look at the other seven, top of the other divisions. You have the Falcons at 6-3. They can easily take care of the Falcons in my eyes. Cardinals at 5-4. They can take care of the Cardinals easily. And then the real other one that you're kind of in contention is the NFC East, and you're thinking the Eagles or the Commanders. We kind of just went over that matchup. Personally, I think you make a good point with the Commanders having an easy schedule. I think the Eagles have had a little bit tougher of a schedule, and they can come out on top during that game. But we're going to see how it plays out. Who's healthy, who's not, what the weather looks like. There's a lot of variables in football, but I would say the Eagles are probably next in contention to take that on. But even at that, I think the the defense for the Eagles are not going to amount to the same as the Lions. So I think the Lions are the team to beat, not only in the NFL, NFC, but our NFC standings, but in the NFL in general. Yeah.
Definitely. And if they can get the first round bye and then also, give their all their stars that rest and then have home field advantage, playing in Detroit in cold Detroit, during what the January games, and you have a hard hitting offensive the running back duo that they have, yeah, they
Hmm.
can control a ground game very well, and that's going to be really hard to beat. So I'm a little nervous as an Eagles fan if to have to maybe go up against the Lions in the future in possible playoff matchup. But yeah, that should be a good one. Lions are the dominant ones there. So move into this next game.
Eli, pretty
Yeah.
sure Ford Field's a dome, no?
Oh, is it a dome?
Yeah, I mean they still play super well there, but it's not
Oh,
like
okay,
playing.
regardless. That's true. That's true. Okay. So
And it prevents them from having to go to Minnesota or Green Bay where there is bad weather.
yeah, as long as they can keep out of these other maybe tougher stadiums during that time. Okay, cool. So that's a little fact right there. So still that'll be helpful. All right, moving in onto into the West Coast. We'll go to the big NFC West matchup. We had the Rams taking on the Seahawks. The Rams ended up taking the win 26-20. This one was a very close one. I believe it went to OT.
Okay.
And we were watching this game over the weekend. Christian was actually over with Elliot and Zach, and we were watching the end because Elliot, big Seahawks fan, and yeah, that was definitely a tough loss that he had to sit there and watch. But I'll start the question with who's going to win the NFC West? We're getting towards halfway of the season, and so far it seems like all four of these teams are in contention. They're beating each other up. Doesn't seem like there's a clear-cut winner, and it's going to come down to probably right at the end of the season. So right now Arizona leads the pack, but Rams are right there. I'll start with you, Christian. What are your thoughts on this?
I have no idea. This division, it seems like every week someone else takes the top dog spot. Everybody's still in contention. What, they're all within a game of each other. And the Niners have the worst record and they're about to get McCaffrey back, maybe. So I think the division's as wide open as any division in football right now. Um, it's just it seems like that division has so many skill players. Each team is loaded. It's whose defense is gonna really step up and be able to make some stops coming towards this end of the season push.
And that's why I think the Niners probably had the edge there. I do believe in their defense more, and I don't think the Seahawks are going to make it. I think you're going to get swept by the Niners. They already lost now to the Rams. I don't know. As Seahawks, I feel like their offense isn't powerful enough compared. They're not as explosive. Metcalf's fully healthy, but I don't know. It's hard for me to believe it. Sorry, Elliot, if you're listening.
I
Andrew,
totally
what are your thoughts on this, Andrew?
Yeah, this division's real close. I think it's the closest division that we have right now in the standings. Doesn't mean it's the most competitive because there's other divisions that I think just are better teams that are playing just better football right now. But if I was to look at the schedule and kind of cross-reference that with the records right now, I would probably say I would probably give it to the Niners. And the as such, I think they have the best offense there um, right now. And I think with McCaffrey coming back, that plays a significant role. If he doesn't come back, kind of, skews it a little bit. But it just seems like San Francisco's kind of won this division year in and year out for the past couple years. And they're the team in that division. They've hiccuped in the past. They've had some pretty close games. And they've had some injuries, but I think the defense will step up. And I'd have to agree and say San Francisco probably takes the division based on the schedules that we're seeing. I mean, um, I think they got a good shot. I think the Rams, hats off to the Rams. They have come back from what looked to be like a tanking season and put a string of wins together. And the last three games have been wins for the Rams. So congrats to them. But I think the Dolphins right here, the Eagles in 2 weeks, the Bills in 4 weeks. I think, and then they face the Niners again. So it's like that's a little bit tougher of a schedule. I think San Francisco comes out on top with this NFC West.
I'd say this game could have been maybe more of a blowout if Puka was in the game because he did get ejected pretty quickly. So maybe that was a good factor too. You take away one of their biggest targets for Stafford, that opens up a lot more for Cup as well. So I don't know. I have hope. I think I'm more scared of the Rams offense at this point right now, but it's only halfway through the season, so we'll have to see how it shapes up and if they can stay healthy. Who knows if Cup can continue playing how he is, and same thing with Puka. It's just one bad hit, one bad tweak, and they might be out again. Um,
What
all
a
right.
one-handed catch by Robinson OT though.
Oh yeah,
That
that
was
was
crazy. Like it was good. I think what happened in this game specifically, turnovers, man. There was four total turnovers in this game. Geno Smith threw three of them. I think if that doesn't happen, Steelers have a good shot of winning. Matt Stafford had a turnover. I think that's what really did it for the Rams to win and for the Seahawks to lose is Geno Smith throwing three interceptions. Shouts out to Jackson Smith and Jigba. He saved my fantasy in two of my leagues. And he just had a great game with DK Metcalf out. I think it's safe to say that he is that guy that's going to be leading that receiver room. So if he's out this week again, I would look to Jackson Smith and Jigba this week to play him.
yeah. I think he's a must start now, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, All right, move into Christian's favorite team. We got the Chargers taking on the Browns. Chargers get a really dominant win, and it looked like Jameis Winston went back to his old self and did not play well in this one. It looked like J.K. Dobbins kind of controlled a lot of this game, and that was a hell of a pickup. And the fact that he's making his comeback in this league, so I feel like he had so much potential and had those season-ending injuries before. I'm glad he is getting to have his time now. So I'll start with you, Christian. What do you think of this game? Are you upset that the Chargers are, even after it seemed like they were almost going into rebuild, they dumped a lot of their top receivers. It didn't seem like they had a lot going for them. They're fighting for it. They're right there behind the Chiefs. 5-3 is not a bad record.
No, no. The Chargers, I think, looked good, but I think more than that, the Browns just looked terrible today. I mean, I don't know what we were all expecting, but after they went out and beat the Ravens, which, I mean, Jameis didn't have the best game against the Ravens, but didn't play terribly. And to come out here today or Sunday and throw, what, three interceptions?
It had to regress automatically. I think he threw three touchdowns last week. He had to throw three interceptions. He's the man who's at
Right.
exactly 500 with his touchdown to interception ratio.
He's trying to catch up to that 30-30 season. I don't know if
Exactly.
it's more on Jameis or more testament to the Chargers and this Jim Harbaugh defense that seems to be keeping them in games. But as much as I hate to say it, the Chargers seem like they're a pretty solid team at the moment, and I wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, I could see them being a wild card team if they can play consistent like they are. And I think that run game has been very helpful with them. Yeah, Herbert can do just enough to make sure the team stays afloat. Andrew, what are your thoughts? I remember last year you had Quentin Johnston, right? If you on a league or two, it seems like he's kind of forming into his own. And on the other side, Tillman, third straight week of having very good fantasy outlook. He had a touchdown, has a lot of targets, six receptions. Seems to be one of the favorite looks on this team now. Um, yeah, man, are these two viable receivers that you feel comfortable maybe starting if you have them?
Ooh, I don't know. I personally don't have either of these, and I didn't, go for Cedric Tillman on the waiver wires when he was available. Um, I think Quentin Johnson, even at that, like he's had good games, but I think it's the fact that they got rid of Keenan Allen and just kind of gutted their, like you said, kind of gutted, with Austin Eckler moving out too. Like they kind of just revamped their whole team, and it's a Harbaugh team, right? You got J.K. Dobbins, he seems to be that offense, and he's the run first offense, and that's not to say that Justin Herbert can't put it up. I think he's a great quarterback, and he had a great, first couple years in the league. I just don't think he has the talent to throw to right now. Quentin Johnson and Lad McConkey, they tried to draft, a young wide receiver, and he's been doing well. I'm not, going to take away from that, but you want an elite receiver for Justin to throw to, especially in his prime years. It's his third, fourth year in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and you're running the ball with J.K. Dobbins, I would say a lot, and it's been working. You know what I mean? if you have J.K. Dobbins, just the pure volume that he has, and when they get into the goal line, it just seems to be his type of game, his type of his type of offense, and that's what you want in fantasy value is a J.K. Dobbins type of person. I have him in bat as my RB2 in two of my leagues, and he's putting up RB2, borderline RB1 numbers some week. So I think maybe you go with Quentin Johnson, maybe, but that's a stretch. I'd probably put him at wide receiver 3 in fantasy value right now. Um, maybe like a flex, depending on the matchup, but that's kind of where I'm at with Quentin Johnson, Cedric Tillman. I think Jameis Winston is all over the place. Maybe if you're trying to get a streamer, he's got a good matchup, and you need maybe like 15 to 20 points from a flex position, maybe go out on a limb and start him, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably stay away. I do think David Njoku, I still believe in him that he can be that primary receiver on that offense. He's a big body, and he's been playing really well in the past for the Browns. But it's interesting to see, how he plays with Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston tends to air it out and go deep with it, and Njoku's maybe a mid to kind of dump off type of tight end right there. So we'll see how it plays out. But I probably would say maybe Quentin Johnson overall. Yeah.
I'm interested to hear both of your guys' thoughts on Chubb. I mean, 15 carries, 39 yards. He just doesn't look like the same player after coming back this year as he was before the ACL injury.
Yeah, I think he probably did lose that explosiveness that he had, and a lot of people saw that coming. And I think on top of that, if you don't have a lead, if you're playing from behind, Winston's
Exactly.
going to be airing it out,
Yep.
and that's where you're going to have your better numbers in the air. It's kind of hard to like give them a chance to even really run it. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just going to be a really tough offense in general. And yeah, if you have Chubb and you invested in him, hoping that there'd be some resurgence, I don't know. I maybe start him in a flex if you can, but it's going to be kind of tough.
Yeah, I think just with the notion that Eli is saying with the fact that the Browns. Um, you got to keep in mind this is a brand new team for the Browns, right? You have James Winston starting at quarterback, you have Nick Chubb starting at running back, and they just got rid of Amari Cooper, so you have Cedric Tillman. These are all guys that are now playing the second half of the season, haven't been playing this whole time. They haven't had necessarily the chemistry with each other all year long. On top of that, you throw in the combination of they're not a very good team in general, right? Their record shows that, and they're probably going to be playing from behind a lot of the time. And so that doesn't give Chubb a lot of opportunities, right? I think he's averaging less than 15 carries for the past 3 games, and less than 100 yards on each of those games. So I think, pair that with his injury. Props to Nick Chubb for making it back into the NFL and making it as a starter and playing these games, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to add up to be a successful season for Chubb or the Browns, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Moving into we got two more games to go over. So we talked about them a lot, but we have the Commanders who went to take on the Giants at MetLife. Commanders take the game 27-22. Commanders are now at 7-2. This is their best start since 1996. So, it's been 28 years since they've had a start like this. Basically since we were all born, right? So it's pretty insane that especially this first year with a rookie quarterback and being able to to have this production that he's having. Is Jaden Daniels rookie of the year? Is that solidified? Do you think it's just a clear lock? I'll start with you, Christian.
I think it's pretty clear. I don't think there's a more exciting team to watch right now. Maybe the Lions, but whenever Jaden Daniels drops back, you have no idea what he's going to do. I don't think there's really any other rookies that are in contention. I've heard people say Lad, which is crazy. Caleb looked good, but he's not putting up the numbers week in, week out. I think it's pretty clear that it's Jaden, although Drake May has been cooking a little bit over there in New England. They were
Yeah,
hesitant to start him, but I mean, compared to how Jacoby Brissett looked behind pretty much the exact same line with the same weapons, he might be able to put something together late, which I hate to say as a Patriots hater, but
that's fair.
Yeah, Personally, I just don't think he's played enough to show that he's rookie of the year worthy in my opinion. I think Jane Daniels is clear cut rookie of the year with the amount of time that he's played. He's literally turned this Washington Commanders team around. And given the schedule, I see that plays a factor in it. But for a rookie to come in to a losing team, um, and in this franchise in particular, and turn this organization around to a 7-2 record in his first year, in my opinion, that shows a lot, right? It shows so much, and he's not doing it one dimensionally. He's doing it on the ground with his feet and through the air with some big plays with Terry McLaurin. At this point, I think they think that they have a real shot to be a playoff contention team and to go far in the playoffs. With that, they're starting to build around this team, right? They just added Marshawn Lattimore to the defense. They're trying to beef up that secondary and really give them a shot to go into the second half of the season and make a run and hopefully a deep run. I think towards the end, I think that experience will come into play where he might be lacking, that NFL experience late in the season and playoffs where that plays a factor. Maybe some nerves work up. First year rookie mistakes are made. But for the regular season and to talk rookie of the year, I mean, in my opinion, it's Malik Neighbors or it is Jaden Daniels, and Jaden Daniels has just proven to me that he's the number one rookie in this year's draft class right now.
Yeah, and I would say kind of similar to maybe it was Hurts when he had his breakout year. Uh, a lot of these defenses they can't scheme against Jaden Daniels. I feel like they're still trying to understand and get used to his play style, and him being so explosive. And on top of that, you're playing bad teams, so bad defensive schemes. So yeah, it's probably a little tough for them. And yeah, maybe once they play some of these better teams in the playoffs, it's gonna be a little harder. So hopefully, yeah, they can get this experience throughout the season, and play against some better teams, higher scoring teams, and yeah, see if they can do it because they got they manhandled by the Ravens. It seemed like so. Yeah, you got to learn from that, and yeah, I think the Eagles one will be their next big test. So I'm excited for that game. That should be fun.
Shouts out
Um,
to Austin Siebert. He I think is number two in fantasy kicking right now, and that goes a long way to a winning record, in my opinion. And I think that's help pull away with the lead with some of these teams and kind of break the spirit of some of these teams when they have such a high lead, and that contributes to that. So maybe something to look into for fantasy relevancy if he's on the waivers, if he's not on a team. Austin Siebert's number two overall in fantasy for kicking. And yeah, might be a good person to look to trade for the second half of the season.
all right, trading for kickers. That's a new one. So we'll see what you can do there.
Hey,
Um,
kickers, dude, they got like I think there was a statistic that said the number one kicker right now would beat the number 15 tight end overall, the number like 13 like wide receiver or running back or something like that. And I was just like, no way, do kickers really put up that much points throughout the season? Like really? And I was surprised by that. So personally, I have Fairbairn and Boswell, and I'm trying to leverage a trade value on that because that's kickers one and three right there. Austin Siebert's number two, and I'm like, who doesn't want a good kicker going into the second half of the season? So just my opinion.
That's
But
fair. You just got to get people to bite because I agree with the statistics, but are people really going to see that as a sexy trade? Are they going to see the value in that? So if you're good at convincing, you might be able to get someone to bite.
I'm thinking more of like you give like for instance, I'm looking to get um who is the Vikings running back right now? Jones?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Aaron Jones. Yeah.
Aaron Jones. I can't remember his first name. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones. Looking to trade away Josh Jacobs, right? So trade away Josh Jacobs, get Aaron Jones. And personally, I think Josh Jacobs is a better running back altogether, but I think he has a harder schedule. Minnesota has an easier schedule going into the next few games. And to sweeten the deal, his kicker's somewhat mediocre. I throw in, a Fairbairn or a Boswell, and he drops his kicker. I think that kind of does that. You know what I mean? I think that's the type of trade I'm looking for, and I'm trying to leverage that trade. But I mean, would you guys take a trade like that?
uh,
I would. I've been
Y-
rocking Boswell in both leagues, and
Yeah.
having someone you can depend on, there's nothing worse than having a kicker get 3 points on a Monday night when you really need 7 or 8.
yeah.
I can
I
tell
think
that
having a kicker,
because Boswell is definitely one of those kickers because Steelers, they get it to the red zone, and then they have a hard time putting the ball in the end zone. So Boswell's been putting a lot of those field goals on the board and tacking those points up. And to have a kicker that does that is that saves you. You know what I mean? I mean, like sometimes kickers get 9 points, 13 points a game, and it really saves you. So I think if you can see the value in it, it's a good trade, but we'll see how it plays out. Anyways, let's move on from the kickers. Sorry to derail it there.
No worries, no worries. We'll move on from.
Actually, going back, if I can go back to Jaden for one more second, not kickers, back to quarterbacks.
All right, we're out of
Uh,
soccer times. We're moving
It's
into back to football, touchdown times.
funny that we were talking about how his schedule, how he's revamped the Commanders and gotten them so many wins. I think the only player you can really compare him to right now is Lamar. And Lamar's record against the NFC is what? It's like 23-3 or something. So the
Mm.
NFC just in general hasn't been able to figure out players like that. I think that's what gives Jaden the advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I
Also,
agree.
maybe why Baltimore was able to scheme against them.
Able to do that. Exactly.
They had a great scout team QB.
Match up really well. Okay, we got one last game to go over for our week 9 recap. We had the Monday night game. We had the Bucks taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs won it in overtime, 30-24. Classic scenario. Mahomes gets the ball in overtime, and you see Baker Mayfield put his head up in dismay, realizing that they're probably not going to win this game now. What's up with these overtime rules? Do you think they should use the playoff overtime during the regular season? I mean, these games are very important in the NFL during the regular season. Uh, and especially for the Bucks, they are injury riddled. They need these wins because they have Atlanta right there at the top of their division. I'll start with you, Andrew. Do the Chiefs just dominate when they can do overtime? And do these rules need to change?
I think anytime you give Patrick Mahomes first crack at an overtime game, he's going to come out on top. I think it doesn't help that the refs are on their side. I mean, we saw the offensive tackle jump and it wasn't called. And shouts out to Andy Reid. I do think he's a genius. But I do think that the rules need to change. I think both teams need to have a shot at putting points up on the board and just have a shot in overtime. And it's sad to say that that's not the case in the NFL right now. I I think Baker knew, you know what I mean, as soon as they won the coin toss, that he was not going to get a chance to come back in this game, and it was kind of heartbreaking considering the fact that they did so well in this game despite not having the receivers, right? They didn't have Chris Godwin, they didn't have Mike Evans, and that says a lot, you know. There's some of the guys that stepped up. Cade Otton, had a great game through the air, 77 yards and a touchdown. Um, but I was somewhat happy that, Kareem Hunt ended up scoring the game-winning touchdown. I had a parlay with him and DeAndre Hopkins and Baker running for 15 yards, so it hit, and I was happy on that. But I don't want to see the Kansas City Chiefs win another Super Bowl. I want someone to knock them down a notch, So we'll see how it plays out for them. I mean, who do they got next on their schedule? They got the Broncos, could be a trap game for them there, and then the real test is going to be the Bills, and that's in 2 weeks. Other than that, they play the Panthers, the Raiders, Chargers, and the Browns. They don't have a very tough schedule for the remainder of the upcoming games here. Picks up towards the end with the Texans and the Steelers. That could give them some trouble there, but for the next couple games, I don't see it being real hard with the Panthers and the Chargers. I think the Bills is going to be the real test here, and I think that was going to be an AFC kind of giant in the AFC, two playoff teams going at it, and we've seen their matchups over the years and the close calls that each of these teams have had. But yeah, I think I want to see the Chiefs, get knocked down, and I think the rules do need to change here.
Yeah, she's just able to get it done. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Christian? Are you still kind of a Chiefs hater, grew up being an old Chargers fan, or now do you appreciate them being able to keep the Chargers out of the playoffs pretty often?
Quite the opposite, dude. I loved Priest Holmes, loved Jamal Charles, Dwayne Bowe, Trent Green, all those old Chiefs teams. Um, Fucking hate them now, though. When I saw Baker's reaction, I went back and I looked up all of the for the past 5 years, Kansas City's coin toss record. They've lost two. One, Niners Super Bowl shit show. Two, Patriots over in 2019 in the NFC Championship game. Two overtime coin toss losses in 5 years.
Dang. How
Ridiculous.
many did they win after that out of that?
Oh, it's like 7, 8. It's not an
Damn.
insane amount, but it's not 50-50.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and it's a huge advantage for them with if the when those because they barely changed the rules now, but before even in playoffs, it's whoever scores touchdown first. So when you have such a solid offense like that, yeah, they have a huge advantage just off of a bullshit coin toss. So it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Um, this was a good,
Plus, Baker looked good down the stretch too. That was a good game.
yeah,
And they
they
went
had an opportunity to win it too. They, being up 17-10, it just seems like
They
they
should
kind
have
of
went
started to
for
let it
it.
slip.
They should have went for it. When you're in Arrowhead and you're playing, you're the away team in Arrowhead, you go for it. You have an opportunity to kill it right then and there. And then why do you want to play Mahomes in overtime at home? It just doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
I think that was terrible coaching, in my opinion. They should have
that
went
run
for it.
was brutal
They
though.
have a good running backs. You know what I mean? They have
Yeah,
good running backs. That's their
that's
strength in
still.
in their team right now. They should have went for it and they should have ran the ball and they should have went close to their best offensive tackle or guard and put it in the ball and played some tough football and lay it all on the line. That's what would have rather seen, but I'm glad that Kareem Hunt scored because I won my parlay. So
That's fair. That's fair. All right, nice. Well, yeah, Chiefs move on to 8-0, and yeah, they're rolling. All right, so that was our recap for week 9. Lots of fun games. Definitely a good slate. We'll move into our preview of week 10. Now, as I said earlier, this week we have some lopsided matchups, but still some fun ones we can guess on the spread as well. But we'll move into the primetime games. We'll start off with the Thursday night matchup. We have the Bengals at 4-5 taking on the Ravens at 6-3. This will be in Baltimore, division matchup. It should be an interesting one. Bengals offense, they've had their struggles. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to be back in this, but they definitely need him to open up the field for Chase. And yeah, it seems like the Ravens they're just a team that continually rolls other teams. Obviously, they have a few hiccups here and there, but the over I think is at 52 right now, so they expect a pretty high scoring game. And I think the Ravens are favored by 6 or 6.5. So, by a touchdown, which I could see. That's definitely doable. However, I think the Bengals put up a fight. It seems like the Ravens, they give it up pretty close during their division matchups. And I feel like the Bengals, even though they struggle a lot, I have some faith in them. And, they played really well last week. So I'm going to give it to the Bengals on this. I think they at least cover. I don't know if they can win outright, but I think they at least cover and keep it close. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one?
hmm. I think Baltimore Ravens take it. Whether they cover or not a touchdown, I think they can. I think they can cover a touchdown. I think one thing to monitor here, and I don't think it's a big deal, but Lamar Jackson's listed as questionable right now. I think he will still play. I think he's just kind of nursing some bruises and things of that nature, but I think he'll still play. I do think Mark Andrews is going to see a little bit more action, considering Isaiah Likely's questionable and is dealing with some health issues as well. Um, One thing I would note for this Bengals offense is Zach Moss is now on IR. So that means the whole backfield is with Brown, right? So Chase Brown has been playing exceptional.
They
Um,
just picked up a running back, I think, today.
Khalil Herbert. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
it's
just
Khalil
picked
not
up Khalil
Herbert,
Herbert.
I
he
don't
got
think I don't
signed.
think
Okay,
that changes anything. I think Chase Brown's still the clear number one
yeah,
back there.
I do
It'll at
too,
least
and I
it'll at least
think
give him some rest during reps. He doesn't have to be the full take all the workload, so it'll be a
yeah,
little helpful.
yeah, but I still think that Chase Brown is clear cut back. He's going to get a lot of volume, um, and and he's been playing really well. So that'd probably be the person. Him and Jamar Chase are probably the two players on that team that I would even entertain going for at this point. And yeah, I think the Bengals keep it close with a touchdown, and the Ravens come out on top. I can see Derrick Henry scoring here. I don't think Zay Flowers has the same game as he does last week. And I think they're going to try to get mixed Deontay Johnson in here. Obviously, Deontay Johnson played for the Steelers. He's played these AFC North teams before, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns. So he's kind of used to playing them and seeing them, every year. Um, but yeah, definitely watch Lamar Jackson if you have him as quarterback, and the Ravens take it by a touchdown.
Nice. Who do you got, Christian?
My brain says the Ravens at home. My heart says Hungry Dog runs faster. The Bengals absolutely need this, or I think their season's over. I think the Bengals, if I had to bet on it, I think I'd pick the Bengals.
Okay.
What's the
It's
spread?
Okay.
it's a do
Six.
or die. Yeah, 6.
You should take this as your underdog then.
Yeah, man, that could be a
Maybe I
good one.
should.
All right,
But
cool. So I
I
think that
think
should
with the
be
season on the line, they'll play up to the Ravens' abilities. Whether T plays or not, obviously that's a big help to the Bengals if he plays. But either way, I
Yeah.
think the Bengals have been waiting for this real coming out game to show that they're back.
yeah, it should be a fun one. It's a good Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Um, all right, moving into our Sunday night game. Not a very good or fun matchup. We have Sunday morning game because we have a game over in Germany, I believe. We have the Giants taking
Uh,
on the Panthers. Both teams are at 2-7. Bryce Young just got his first win last game. So I don't know if you guys saw his interview, but he was happy. He was elated. It was nice to see
Hmm.
him compared to him crying after one of those games. It's good to see the guy a little happy there. Um, this one being over in Germany, man, both these teams are on a downward trend. They both have really rough offenses. Neighbors is a shining star for the Giants. Panthers, Bryce Young maybe picking it up after being benched for a bit. I think he's probably going to start again. I don't know if Dalton's in. Um, both these teams are pretty rough. I think it's a coin toss. But I think the Panthers can maybe eke it out. I don't know. I just something about the Giants. They can put up points sometimes, but if you shut down neighbors, it's pretty tough. So give me, damn, give me the Panthers. I'm gonna take the Panthers on this one. Christian, who do you got for this one?
I think this is a great punishment for World War II. Make the Germans sit down and watch the Giants and the Panthers. Because I'm not going to be watching this game.
No.
I couldn't care less about who wins, who wants the number one pick uh, the most. I don't. Do you know, is Dalton playing, or are they going to stick with Bryce Young?
He was on the injury report. Actually, it doesn't have him
I
on the
don't
injury
see him on
report
the injury
anymore. So
report.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe he will be playing. I don't know what the Panthers want. Do they want to win or do they just want to test out their guys and see who they got still? I don't know. So
Yeah, I guess I'm taking the Giants. I liked how Tracy's looked the last couple weeks. I mean, as good as he's looked, Daniel Jones has just looked terrible. Um, but we've been missing that Jones neighbors connection the last couple weeks, so I think they bring it back a little bit here. Give the fans in Germany something to watch.
yeah, I'm gonna flip mine. I'm taking the Giants on this one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They show a little more signs of life. I don't know. I believe in their offense a little bit more, but either one's a crapshoot. What do you got, Andrew?
Ooh, I think this is my underdog of the week here. So I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I think Bryce Young rides the momentum that he's had from last game. He seemed so elated and so happy in that interview, and first time he's taken the victory formation in quite some time. I think since college actually. So I think he rides the momentum. I think Chuba Hubbard's been playing phenomenal, in that backfield for Carolina. I just don't think they're a good team. But I think he's number 9 in fantasy right now. So he's been putting up, he's had good numbers. in that sense. I think it is kind of concerning that their pass game probably isn't there. Tommy Tremble is questionable this game, and they just traded away Mingo, so it's like Adam Thielen's still on IR. Like, who are you passing the ball to? That's a big, question mark for Bryce Young and Andy Dalton, whoever starts there. And then they're also dealing with that, who's going to start. Andy Dalton coming back from an injury. Bryce Young, he's kind of riding that momentum. I think Daniel Jones and he's been playing pretty well as well the past game. We saw him do more with the ground game with his feet. But they have Malik Neighbors and they have um, their running back who's been putting up pretty good numbers as well. But I'm gonna go with the Panthers. They're my underdog this week, and I think the fact that it's in Germany, it's pretty early in the morning. I'm hoping that the Panthers, have enough to eke out a win and increase my record on my underdogs here. You're on
All
mute.
right, nice, nice. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know. None of us will probably be watching that, but all those fans in Germany, hope you enjoy that one. Moving into Sunday night, we have potentially a good matchup. The Lions at 7-1 playing the Texans at 6-3. Uh, Personally, I think the Lions win this handily. Texans have not looked good. They are down their star receivers. They only really have Tank Dell right now. It just they've beaten some good teams this year, but that was when they were fully healthy. And right now they just aren't. And they got manhandled by the Jets offense. So I think the same thing's going to happen here, and that the Lions are way more explosive. So I don't see them slowing down the Lions at all. I understand it's in Houston. Maybe they'll have a good crowd there being excited, but it just seems like they'll be able to swarm and get to CJ Stroud. And I just don't know if they're gonna be able to do a whole lot. Maybe Mixon will have a decent day, but that's really the only bright side I could see for them. So give me the Lions, give me them at the spread at -4. That's gonna be my pick. Andrew, who do you got for that one?
Ooh, I think if Nico Collins comes back, that is the biggest chance they have is having CJ Stroud throw the ball up and make some big plays deep downfield. Other than that, it's pretty one-dimensional with Joe Mixon and that's it. If they can stop the run, which we've seen last week, they stopped the run. The Detroit Lions stopped the runs. I think Detroit will win this. I don't think Nico Collins comes back this week. I mean, he's projected to come back, week 10, but I don't know. I don't see him coming back this week. Detroit Lions take it and they cover the spread, in my opinion.
All right, Christian, are you 3 for 3 with us, or do you got hope in the Texans?
This seems like a trap game to me. I have no idea why. I'm looking at a 3.5 point spread right now, and that makes no sense to me. After what we just watched from the Texans, the depleted team just looking terrible. I know they're at home, but this Lions team feels unstoppable. Makes me a little bit nervous to pick the Lions. I don't know what Vegas knows why it's only a 3.5 point spread. Um, I mean, all logic says Detroit should win by at least a touchdown. I guess I'll go Detroit, but it seems like there's a trap.
That's fair. I guess on if it was in Detroit, I think usually that they automatically give teams at home about a 3 point spread. So if
Yeah,
it was in Detroit, it would be probably about a touchdown. So I think they're saying maybe because it's in Houston, they're giving a little bit of breathing room for the Texans. But yeah, I think they still should be probably favored by maybe like 6.5. So we'll see. I mean, maybe CJ Stroud could pull something out, but I just right now I'm going to be safe. I'm going to take the Lions. I don't see them being stopped. Um, all right, moving into the Monday night matchup. We have two teams that are, I think in second, not second place for the Dolphins, but if the Dolphins playing the Rams, Dolphins are 2-6, Rams are 4-4. This should be a matchup between two pretty solid offenses who have a lot of talent. And, one team, the Dolphins, have been living up to their expectations this year. The Rams have actually been surprising for how many injuries they've dealt with earlier and, their fight for their division. But for this one, I think if Puka's back now after being suspended, put him back in this game, or not suspended, ejected. I see the Rams taking this one. They're at home. I think the Dolphins are a little slow to start. I know they are pretty they're pretty potent, but I just think the Rams have a little more talent and they're a little more cohesive right now. It's a 2.5 spread, so I think they can at least win by a field goal. Yeah, give me the Rams. Christian, who do you got for this one?
I'm with you, Eli. I think the Rams take this game uh, by 2.5 at home. I like their offense. I still like the Dolphins' offense. I think both of their offenses are pretty similar to me. But the Rams' defense and being at home, I think, gives them an edge. I'd like to see the Dolphins start to put something together. So maybe I'd also sprinkle the over. It's at 50.5 is what I'm seeing right now. So it'd be cool to see a shootout. But I think the Rams take this.
Yeah, it should be a pretty fun one. Andrew, what do you got for this one?
Yeah. I think it's I think the Rams win it. They're 3-1 at home. Dolphins are 1-3 away, and I think you know what? I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna say Dolphins. I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna say the
Ooh.
Dolphins win it. I think despite that, they just have a comeback game, right? They had a close game last week, and I think they're going to be, striving to get a win. And these are two teams that are explosive, right? Two teams that have been somewhat ridden with the wide receiver room for the Rams, as well as Tua being out for the Dolphins. But now that Tua's back, I think they started gelling last week, and they had the chemistry last week. But it just came down to possession, and Buffalo eked them out last week. I think they're going to come back with a vengeance, and it's some warmer weather here in Cali. I think Tua and company comes back and Tyreek, hits his over for his receiving, and Tua hits his over for his passing, and it's going to be a passing game. I would probably put both these teams over for passing yards. Um, and yeah, no, I think Tua and the Dolphins come away with the win. I like that. I think the two games that they lost on the away, they didn't have Tua, or they were close games. And I'm gonna give it to the Dolphins. I think they're gonna come back with a vengeance here.
Okay. I think it should be a good one. I just thought of a bet right now. What if you took a teaser? So you take the Dolphins and then you take the over. You tease them down from 6 points. So it'll be the Dolphins at plus 8.5 and over 44.5. I think that's not too bad of a tease. We need both to happen, but Dolphins, I think they could keep it within a touchdown score. And 44.5 with both these offenses, I think it's doable.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely.
I think
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just just an option. So maybe I'll add that at later for our in the betting segment. So yeah, all right. So that's talk through it. That makes sense to me. Cool. So we'll move in really quick. We'll just do some quick hits. We have a couple matchups that we also like that aren't primetime games. So for these ones, I'm just gonna say the matchup, give it maybe like one or two sentences on why you think the team's gonna win, and just pick your winner. So we have the Steelers of the Commanders. This is probably the big matchup of the week. For this one, this is gonna be close. I think this is the game where the Commanders need to show up and prove themselves. But I think the Steelers defense, they're strong enough that I think they can shut down the Commanders, maybe give Jane Daniels some trouble. They already had trouble. They needed to do a Hail Mary to beat the Bears. So yeah, I think the Steelers defense can maybe hold them on this, and they should be able to eke out a win for this one. So give me the Steelers. Andrew, who do you got for this team?
You already know the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to walk out with a win. They're traveling to Washington, but I don't think that makes a difference. With that being said, Brian Robinson Jr. is questionable. I think them having to depend on Austin Eckler, I just don't think they can get it done. I think T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Jane Daniels. He hasn't had a lot of pressure these past games, and they're going to force him to either run or make some bad passes. And either way, I think we can capitalize on it. We have a great secondary with Minka Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter, and TJ Watt. Having hurried the quarterback, hopefully getting some turnovers and some fumbles. I think if our defense can step up and shut down this offense, we have a real good chance of winning this game.
Nice. And Andrew, Christian, who you got for this one?
I think Andrew's exactly right. It's like what I was talking about earlier. The Steelers are used to playing the Ravens. So Lamar is similar enough to Jaden that I feel like Jaden won't be able to trick these NFC defenses that aren't used to playing him. guess what? The Steelers are. So I think it'll be a big defensive game. I think TJ Watt will have a lot to do with whether the Steelers win or lose. And I think that's what it comes down to is stopping that offense. On the other side of the ball, Russ has actually looked pretty good for the Steelers. So I don't see them really having any issues. If their defense can get stops, I have them winning easily.
All right, nice. That should be a fun matchup. We'll see how that goes. The next game on the docket, the Eagles at the Cowboys. We have the Eagles at 6-2, Cowboys at 3-5. Dak is not playing in this
Ooh.
game, so we have Cooper Rush starting, and the Eagles may be down AJ Brown. So two stars potentially out for this one. But for me, give me the Eagles. Even though coming to Dallas, it's kind of tough. I really don't see them losing to a Cooper Rush-led offense. I think even CeeDee Lamb may have he tweaked himself a little bit, so I don't know if he'll be 100%, but I think the Eagles are on they're on fire right now. They've been ramping things up, and I think this should be a pretty decisive win. Christian, who you got for this one?
Yeah, CD looked bad after that touchdown. He got nudged and just fell to the ground.
Shoulder.
Looked like he was in a lot of pain. I doubt he'll play. So it'll be Cooper Rush and Tolbert. I think the Eagles should win this game very easily.
All right, and, Andrew, do you agree with us?
I do agree with you. I do think that the Eagles win this pretty easily. Kind of concerned with CeeDee Lamb's fantasy outlook with Dak Prescott being out and his injury with his shoulder for CeeDee Lamb. He's a first round draft pick in two of my leagues, and on top of that, there's rumors of them tanking this season and Prescott just right in IR, and that's going to not be good for CeeDee Lamb's fantasy outlook. And I will say that, Cooper Rush is a good backup quarterback, though. We've seen him, fill the role for Dak Prescott before and come out with wins. And there was rumors of him going to a different team and potentially being a starter there. But I think he likes his situation in Dallas. I think it just fits in with his life a little bit better, and he didn't want to do that. But it is concerning to see CeeDee Lamb, questionable this week, as well as the fantasy outlook for CD Lamb in general because of the fact of Dallas is at 3-5. I think if they don't win this game, which I don't think they are, they're in that tank, mode. I hate to say it, but they're in that tank mode, and there doesn't seem to be a reason to continue to even put in the effort for the rest of the season. They're not going to be a playoff team, and it just doesn't make sense to risk your star quarterback or your star receiver that you've paid so much money for. So I'm starting to question CD Lamb's fantasy outlook for the rest of the season and thinking maybe I should, try to make some trades here.
You
Yeah,
think
my point.
you think if they go into tank mode, they trade Micah Parsons, get rid of some of that money?
Jerry Jones
Ooh.
will never do that. Jerry Jones will never tank. That's the thing. He will not tank. So maybe should.
Involuntary.
They should, but until that man has stopped running this team, he always thinks they're all in still. So I doubt it.
I don't know,
Uh,
man. They haven't had a worse start to the season in probably 10 years, 15 years, bro. I don't know, man. I think at this point you kind of cut your losses. You're 3-5. You're gonna lose this game. You're gonna be, you know, 3-6. You've lost double the amount of games than you've won, and they're not even close to being in the playoffs, in my opinion. I mean, you're only one game above the fucking Giants. Excuse my
and
language.
and not having Dak for
Yeah, yeah. You're
multiple
not gonna have
weeks.
Dak. You're not gonna have Dak, and your CD Lamb's hurt right now. Like, you're not gonna win this game. What does the rest of their schedule look like? Let's be real here. Let's talk about this for a second because they have the Eagles, the Texans, and the Commanders. Three pretty good teams coming up, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better for them, right? They're riddled with injuries. They had three hard teams coming up: the Eagles, the Texans, and the Commanders. And it you know what I mean? They're not a playoff team. I think you go tank mode. I think you go tank mode and you try to get a good draft pick and you start to look towards next season. There's no reason to risk Dak Prescott getting injured. There's no reason to risk CeeDee Lamb getting injured, in my opinion.
These are all
And
logical points, but Jerry Jones is not a logical man. He never is. And that's why I love him as an Eagles fan. Gladly let him make all these dumb decisions, you know? So and used to love what's his name? Schneider or Dan Schneider? Um for the not Dan Schneider.
Dan Quinn? No, not Dan.
Who is the owner of
Uh,
the Commanders?
I think it was Dan Schneider.
Okay, I was right. Dan Schneider.
Schneider?
Him being also a terrible owner, not as much of a role like Jerry Jones, but seeing them being a dumpster fire for years. Loved seeing that. So I like bad ownership for teams that I don't want to win, you know? And it just so happens when they decide to change ownership, they get Jaden Daniels, and now their team has the best start since 1996. So ownership matters. Making decisions at the top makes, it matters. And not a lot of people are good at it. So yeah, Jerry Jones is just not a logical man. Um, anyways, moving
Um,
on. Moving on to this another game. We'll go to Christian's ex lover. The Titans playing the Chargers. Titans at 2-6. Chargers at 5-3. Um, you know, Titans aren't really showing a whole lot of life. Yes, they beat the Patriots, and I think the only other win they had was a Dolphins team that had nobody starting. So not really quality wins. I think they have Mariota in. Um, it's tough looks, and I think Chargers can.
Rudolph.
Yeah, they got
Oh,
Mason
sorry,
Rudolph.
sorry, Rudolph, not Mariota. I'm thinking of his old team. Rudolph. Rudolph, okay. He's doing okay. I think he can sling the ball out there. Still has some issues with interceptions, turnovers, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think the Chargers defense is pretty stout. I think the run game is really good, and I think that's really all you need to shut down the Titans. So give me the Chargers on this. Um, I'll save Fury Christians for last. Andrew, who do you got for this one?
Ooh, Chargers definitely end up taking this. They just got the run offense down, and I think they're just gonna run it down their throats, and they're not gonna be able to do much. It's 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 at home for the Chargers. They're 2-1 on the season at home, and Tennessee is 1-3 away. Haven't won great teams. I mean, New England with an overtime win, and Miami that hadn't had anyone starting. So it's not like they have a lot of credibility in that sense. And I think the Rams or the Chargers, excuse me, have just played a little bit harder teams and walked away with a little bit better of a record here. I'm really hoping, J.K. Dobbins continues his run game and, has a lot of touchdowns in this game. But the Chargers take it here.
All right, and Christian, you gotta let us know who do you got winning this one?
You guys are trying to convince me to take the Chargers, and I never will. I'll tell you what, the Titans are going to win, and they haven't been in any huge blowouts other than that Lions game where the Lions put up 50 something. The Chargers aren't doing that. The rest of the games they've been in have all been one-score games. So I don't think it's outlandish that this Titans defense can't hold the Chargers, stop the run game. Maybe you get a bad Quentin Johnston game here, and um, the Titans find a way to pull it out.
And is a lot of this decision based on the hate that you
Yeah,
have?
I don't believe anything I just said, but
All right, all right,
if you manifest it, things
but you
can happen.
gotta. All right, that's fair. I totally back that up. All right, really quick side note. I did look it up. It is Dan Snyder, not Schneider. And Wikipedia specifically says not to be confused with Dan Schneider. I very close names, but Daniel Snyder, that was the ex Commanders owner who refused to change the name to the Commanders for the longest time. Anyways, moving into our last quick hit for the week. The 49ers are playing the Bucks. 49ers are sitting at 4-4, coming off their bye, and the Bucks are at 4-5. This will maybe be a big comeback game for the Niners after their bye. They have possibly McCaffrey coming back, and Bucks just came off of a heartbreaking overtime loss to the Chiefs, but I believe they are still fighting for contention to stay in their division. Um, I think this will be a fun one. This will be a really deciding factor for both teams. However, the Niners, even though they had their bye, I still think they have some injuries to deal with. So do the Bucks. but Bucks showed a lot of fight, a lot of heart against one of the best teams in the league. It's at home for Tampa Bay. I think it's going to take a little bit to get McCaffrey, revving and going. So give me the Bucks in this one. Give me the upset. It's my upset of the week. I want to take the Bucks to win this game outright. Christian, who do you got for the 49ers and the Bucks?
For me, it totally depends on who's running the ball. If they're able to bring back McCaffrey, that's fine. I'll take the Niners. If Jordan Mason somehow is healthy, he's been day to day for like 2 weeks. Luckily, they're just coming off a bye, so maybe he's back to full speed. Um, but if neither one of them can handle the rock, I don't know. I don't know how you even have a chance in this game unless you're just giving it to Debo every time. Um, if they know who their running back is and they stick with one of them, I'm taking the Niners. If not, I'm riding with the Bucks. So it'll all come down to an hour before game time.
All right, I think it should be a fun one. Andrew, who do you got?
This one's hard for me because now that I'm looking at the injury report, I'm thinking, there's a lot of question marks on the San Francisco offense, right? I was thinking Jawan Jennings was going to be back. He's still questionable. Christian McCaffrey, obviously on IR, might be coming back this week. And then on the other side of the ball, you have Tampa Bay. They obviously don't have Mike Evans. They don't have Chris Godwin, and we've seen how they played without those individuals. Um, they're at home. Tampa Bay's at home. They're 2-3 at home. San Francisco's 1-2 away. Given all the factors that I kind of just went over, I'm now thinking that Tampa Bay has a good shot of winning. I'd like to see Jawan Jennings go out there because, he had that game against the Rams and put up an amazing performance there. I've kind of, thought they have a good playoff schedule coming up. The San Francisco 49ers, I thought they'd be better in their division right now. Um, this is a big game for them. I think if in fact they don't win this game, they're in that third, potentially fourth spot of the NFC West standings, which could really hurt them for the next couple games and just the standings in general. With that being said, I'm liking Tampa Bay a little bit more as far as an underdog is given the situations. Again, it could be like Christian said, you know, an hour before game time where Juwan Jennings is playing and Christian McCaffrey's playing, that swings the tide, and I'd go San Francisco. But given the circumstances right here, right now, when we're recording this, I'd probably go Tampa Bay, winning this game. Yep.
All right, cool, cool. So yeah, a lot of close calls. We'll see how that winds up going. So it should be a fun one. All right, that finishes our week 10 preview. So I'll move into some fantasy football talk. Um, we'll go into the coach's corner where I'll ask a question or two to Christian regarding some fantasy football. So Christian, first question I'll ask, how many leagues are you in?
I'm in two.
Two leagues. Okay. How are you doing in those leagues? Are you in a good spot right now?
What's your
I
record?
am. I'm in a good spot in both. One's a super flex 12 man, the other one's a double flex 10 man. And what am I? 5-4 in both. So not
Okay.
doing great, not doing terrible. In my super flex that I'm in with Eli, I just squeaked out a win to keep one of our buddies 0-9 on the season.
Yes. We're
No
able to
mercy.
keep him from winning. That's the goal. All right, cool. Do you have a favorite player that you drafted that's just been killing it for you that you just love to start every week?
Nope. I got a
No.
couple least favorite players.
Tell us who
Brees,
your least favorite players are. Tell us who to avoid out there.
Brees Hall's been screwing me week after week. James Cook is a super uh, bust or boom kind of guy for some reason this year. I thought he'd be the only target Josh Allen had to throw to. Turns out they got a whole trio running out of that backfield now. Um, those have been the two biggest disappointments for me for sure.
I can I can attest to the Brees Hall. He's been very disappointing the last couple weeks here. And before, the Devontae Adams trade and the Aaron Rodgers drama of the head coach getting fired, I think Brees Hall was kind of in that similar boomer bust where he'd put up 20 points, 22 points, or he'd put up 8 or 9. And now it just seems like he's more so leaning on the 8 or 9 points And they're starting to factor in Braylon Allen a little bit more. So it does suck to see the production go down for Brees Hall. You drafted him first overall in your league probably, and the production just isn't there the past couple weeks. I'm hoping they pick it back up, but yeah, it's been disappointing 3 weeks, I would say, for Brees Hall.
I 100% agree.
You know, last year Christian and I made a famous trade where I decided to give up CD Lamb, and because I needed a running back, and I sent it over to him and got Brees Hall.
It's
And
like week 13 or week 12. It was late
Yeah,
in
it
the
was like
season.
towards the end,
They're
and
monsters.
both of them ended up having great finishes to the season, and Brees Hall helped me win my championship. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you, Christian. You helped me out there.
That's why I did
Um,
it.
all right, cool. So, Andrew, have you done this week for your fantasy?
Yeah, yeah. So for fantasy, pretty good week for me. I went 3-1. Right now my records are in each league that I'm in. I am ranked second in two of my leagues and first in one of my leagues. And in the Degenerates League, I am 5-4. Paulo, myself, and Robert are all in that contention for that playoff spot. So seeing how it's going to shake down, I think I have a good schedule coming up. I think I face Edward, so that'll help out. He's 0-8 or 0-9 or something like that, so it's kind of like a bye, but we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing well for fantasy right now. Um, yeah, just glad I'm doing well. Last couple weeks I've been 3-1 or 4-0, so let's keep the train moving.
There you go. Nice. Yeah, I'm in my five leagues. I'm 3-2 this week. Doing pretty dominant in my league with you, Andrew, and also my league with you, Christian. I think I'm at 7-2 right now for both of those. Both those teams, I also have Devonta Adams and Garrett Wilson. They're on my.
And
I
Crazy.
happen to draft them both in both of those leagues. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with them.
you should trade one of them.
I know, but I'm also pretty comfortable. It seems like if the Jets are on a good trajectory, they may be able to both eat well into this offense.
I don't know about that, man. Who do the Jets face? What's their schedule look like? They got
It can't be
let's
that bad.
see.
They were pretty shitty last year, so they should have an easier schedule this year.
I mean, their division's not looking as bad as it
Cardinals,
was
Colts,
a couple
Seahawks,
weeks ago.
Dolphins, Jags. Yeah, it's not that
I
hard,
think
to
he
be
could
honest.
throw pretty well on all those teams. It's not until they play the Bills, but granted, that is probably going to be playoffs, so that'll be that'll be towards the end. But yeah, Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins, Jags, you could throw on all those teams. I don't know, but
Yeah, you're right. You can throw on all those teams, but I
well,
don't know,
that
man. I
helps
just
out. If anyone's
personally, I
listening,
wouldn't I wouldn't have
if
two big
anyone's
receivers like
listening
that.
and is interested, those are good schedules. So if you're interested in one of these players,
I'll
uh,
give you Brees and Rodgers, and you can have the whole team in our league.
I'll run it out
Uh,
there, see what I can do with the entire Jets offense.
Hey, with the
Uh,
schedule you just threw out there, that doesn't sound too bad.
it does it. It
Potential.
does it.
Yeah, it's potential there. All right, cool. So we'll move into just really quick. Did any of you guys have waiver wires you looked into? I personally haven't really seen too many guys stand out this week for me. No one's is flying off the board. Christian, did you have anyone you're looking at?
I just picked up Johnston in one of my leagues, but that's pretty much it.
He's
Okay.
running back for who? For what team?
Quentin Johnston,
Quentin
Chargers
Johnson.
wideout.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was surprised he was on the board. So now I got him in both leagues. I'll see what he can do. I don't think he's starting, but if he
Hmm.
keeps having games like today, maybe if something happens to Lad that keeps him off the field, might have something there.
Could be. Yeah, 'cause we were talking about it earlier. Could be a solid start depending on yeah, if he's able to be the sole target guy. Um, All right, cool. So that's for the waivers. Nothing too crazy. The injury update. I'll just kind of run a few of these off. We talked about a lot of them earlier, but AJ Brown possibly out for 1 to 2 weeks with a knee injury. CD Lamb dealing with a shoulder sprain, so could be out 1 to 2 weeks. Drake London, he has a pretty bad fall on his hip. He may be out for this week. We're not too sure yet. Chris Olave had a concussion, so he'll probably be back week 11. That was a tough loss for people who were starting him. And then Dak Prescott, probably the biggest injury for a quarterback, out for 36 weeks. And yeah, that's going to be tough for that team.
Olave
Um,
was crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
what a hit.
Olave, Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but yeah, that hit was pretty hard. He got sandwiched between those guys, and I forget. I'm blanking on who did it. Someone called out Derek Carr on online,
Michael
basically
Thomas
saying,
Michael Thomas.
yeah,
and
Michael
Olave's
Thomas.
brother.
Yeah, basically saying that it was Derek Carr's fault for throwing that ball, and basically there was like, yeah, it was a good throw, but a very bad setup for Olave. He was gonna get smashed by that safety no matter what. So very tough to see. Hope he's okay, but very tough start to this guy's career. I feel like he's just had a lot of issues, and it's tough for that Saints team. That Saints team has been on a downward spiral, man. They were started 2-0 and have just done nothing since. So it's
Well,
rough.
they
Question to you. Oh, go ahead, Christian.
might get a spark this week. They just fired Dennis Allen, so
Yeah.
Hey,
hopefully that.
that's true. That is the usually teams who fire, they will go off that next week. These guys are fighting for their jobs right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question for fantasy relevancy over there. Chris Olave, he's been injured twice this year. Obviously, he's going to miss this week and potentially next, with the concussion protocol. Does he still have fantasy relevancy towards the end of the season?
I
I mean, they're
I
not doing so
think so.
well, as a team. Obviously the coach situation, how are they, they're gonna kind of pivot to a more running back situation now that Chris Olave's out. They don't have another receiver, in my opinion, that I know of, and looks like Alvin Kamara is gonna get a lot of that workload, and it's gonna be the running. I would say they're probably gonna go to um J the backup running back Jameson, what's the backup running back? Likes anime.
Oh, Williams.
Williams, yes,
Yeah.
Williams. They're probably going to go to Williams up the gut, and I
Devontae.
think Alvin Kamara kind of on the outside and the swing passes. But other than that, I don't see like a downfield threat for the Saints right now. They don't have the best record, and I don't. Rashid Shaheed is out, and now we have Chris Olave out. Like, what are your thoughts? And it's his second time being injured. Like, is he going to play the same even if he does come back? Like, what are your thoughts about Chris Olave and fantasy relevancy here?
Listen, if you have him, you gotta roll with him when he's healthy. You're not gonna get trade value. I personally wouldn't want to touch him. So it's gonna be hard to convince anyone else to take him on. Maybe the top team in the league, but at that point, why you even care? Like, unless you're in like a keeper league or dynasty, it's just hard to convince someone to make a trade for you, especially if you drafted him pretty high, and so that's going to be really hard the rest of your team. I think you have to roll with him when he's good, but with Carr back, that gives some hope, and their schedule is not terrible. Hopefully, when he gets back, he should be playing the Browns, the Rams, the Giants. Commanders and Packers might be a little tough, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you may have some relevancy towards the end of the season. But yeah, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. All right.
I'd try and sell him for pennies on the dollar right now. The way you can't
Yes.
really trust family, but the way his brother was tweeting when he was in the hospital, talking about Derek Carr, how the team doesn't like him, how Chris Olave's not playing in New Orleans. Um, doesn't sound good. I know you normally can't trust emotional family, but
It doesn't
uh,
help. It doesn't help with team
Yeah,
chemistry at
it
all.
definitely doesn't. No. Just the
So
relationship between that organization and him, it doesn't help at all. I mean, at that point, probably looking to get traded or looking to test your abilities elsewhere. So we'll
absolutely.
see.
yeah, we shall see. All right, moving into our week 9 best and worst performances, MVPs and LVPs. We'll take it over and let Christian go over these. Christian, go ahead, take it away, and let us know who are the best and worst performers.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving it to me, Eli. The best performers were from your very own Philadelphia Eagles, huh?
That's right.
You got Jalen going crazy, 30 points. You had Saquon going crazy with 30 points. He should have had an extra 10 points just for that backwards hurdle. Andrew mentioned it earlier. JSN went crazy also later in the day against the Rams. Um, and it looks like the last performer, Gesicki, against the Bengals or on the Bengals. 27 points. I
Well,
guess if you don't have T. Higgins, you got to throw it to somebody, but
they put up a beating too. Had like 41 points against the Raiders, so they just kept on. Joe
Yeah,
Burrow had a day with him, so
that's all it
yeah.
takes. Worst performers. I'd throw Brees Hall on here too, 9 points. Kyler with 4.5, JT, Jonathan Taylor with 9, Puka with 2. I mean, he threw a
Got
punch,
ejected.
rejected. Then Kyle Pitts just had a normal Kyle Pitts game. Feel
he
like
has some upside. I just put him there because it's 2.1. You people are starting him now, so he's probably losing your team. Puka and Kyle, I had both of them on one of my leagues for the Avengers League, and that's probably why I lost was because fucking Puka and Kyle just couldn't get together.
brutal. Yeah, Kyle's someone that always has so much hype every offseason. And to be fair, Kirk has been giving him the ball this year a little bit, but it's just so boom or bust.
At least more boom this year.
True.
Talk about
At least compared to last year's.
Big Justice and AJ. Gotta give him the boom. I'm sorry we had to mention that at all. Terrible mention.
Didn't have to.
Didn't have to, but as soon as it came into my head, my intrusive thoughts won, and I just had to had to let it out. So apologize for that. Who gets that reference? Anyways, we'll move into our betting segment, odds and ends. This is where we go over the bets for the week, and our bets that we like for this upcoming week as well. So we'll go into our recap. Andrew, looks like did you have an underdog win or anything?
Yes, sir. I had a couple underdog wins under my belt here, so I tried to stay between 3 and 4 picks for my underdogs. I think that's just higher statistics of hitting. So I had Brandon Aubrey, 2 field goals, Bijan Robinson, 36 yards in the first half of his game, and Devon Achan for a rushing or receiving touchdown. Won some money there, about $40, nothing too big. And then I had another 3-man for the Monday night game. Baker Mayfield, 15 rushing yards, and Kareem Hunt with a overtime touchdown, and DeAndre Hopkins with over 45 yards. I really like the way that Kansas City is utilizing both Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Hopkins. Both of them were pickups for me they got put on that team, and then I just thought Baker Mayfield was going to be scrambling around a little bit back there, considering the fact that he doesn't have Chris Godwin to throw to or Mike Evans. So worked out, won some money in that, and might pay for some B dubs or something this week. So we'll keep the train going with these underdog bets, and let me know if you guys have any bets this upcoming week.
All right, nice. So good win for there. Good win for there. Christian, are you an avid bettor? Do you like throwing bets on either my bookie, underdog? Do you do like a family or a pick 'em, or you pick a bunch of teams or
Yeah, I don't gamble on any of the sports apps anymore, but I am in a weekly pick 'em. And man, we pick straight up, so not against the spread or anything. And you'd think it'd be real easy. I got 5 out of 14 last week. It was tough. Tough week for your boy.
anything with spreads, man, is really tough to get. Like Vegas is so good at making those lines and stuff, so
Yeah, it
it's
turns
tough.
out I do not know ball. Take everything I've said with a grain of salt. You guys knew that.
Yeah, so Christian, if you didn't know, he was a deeply addicted gambler and lost all of his life savings on my bookie. So he no longer gambles, but
All right, buddy.
paying off he's paying off his debts. I'm just kidding, guys. And
I thought I was just trailing Eli.
that's true. Yeah, I my picks had caused someone to go into financial despair, so I apologize for that. But no,
Uh,
we all kid here. We're none of us are in financial holes right now, so we're in a good spot. Especially after this week, I went 2 and 3 on or 2 out of 3 for my bets that I made on the podcast. I had Washington -3.5 over the Giants. That hit. Sadly, Philadelphia had 7.5 over the Jags. That missed. But I had Atlanta -3 over Dallas, and that comfortably hit. So, went over 500. Happy with that. Our upsets from last week. I had the Dolphins over the Bills. Very close. Could have had that, but did not make it. So now I'm at 2-7. A little rough, well, so close though. Andrew had Patriots over the Titans. That also missed. That was also a very close one. Patriots could have had that, but just no money there. So he's now 1-8. And then our guest had the Giants over the Commanders. That one didn't look like it was going to hit at all during that game. So yeah, Commanders were able to win that game. Now our guest record is at 0-9. Have not gotten an upset yet this year. Player props, we only had two, but we had Devontae Adams touchdown that hit late, and then Aaron Rodgers passing his under that hit as well. So if you happen to tail that an underdog, that's a two-man, that's easy money. All right, moving into our week 10 bets. My favorite bets of the week. So this will kind of go over what I like, what I've seen. I got two spread picks and then two teasers. So the spread that I like, first one is Atlanta -3.5 over the Saints. I still think the Saints are pretty injury riddled right now. Just losing Olave, I don't see a lot they can do on offense. Atlanta's been kind of clicking. Drake London may be out, but I still have a lot of confidence in that. Give me Atlanta -3.5. Carolina +5 versus the Giants. I think they can keep it close. I think it's one of our upsets for the week that Andrew liked. I do think the Giants probably win, but maybe by a field goal. It's going to be a close one. Yeah, so I think I like that bet there. My two teasers. First teaser, I have Cincinnati pulled up to +12 over 46.5. So I think they'll be able to stay within 12 with Baltimore. I think their offense can keep up. And then they're over 44 or over 46.5. I think that's possible too. I think the Ravens could probably get pretty close with that themselves, but I think Cincinnati can keep it up there. I like their offense. So give me that teaser. And then the teaser that I made up earlier that we were talking it over, Dolphins teased them to 8.5 and then dropped the over down to 44.5. So I also think the Dolphins can keep it somewhat close and it should be a higher scoring game. Do you guys have any thoughts on these bets? Any of them pique your interest?
That Carolina one, I think we're gonna wake up and be surprised on that one. I think Carolina comes out on top. I will say
Well,
that.
I took a +5, so I think
Yeah.
they, the spread at least. But I know that's your upset of the week, so I'd assume you'd agree with that one.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd like
No,
it.
of course, that's what I'm saying. That yeah, yeah.
Nice. All right. So speaking of upsets, let's go to our upset of the week for week 10. So as you know, our upsets need to be a 3.5 or more spread as the underdog. So I am taking the Bucks over the 49ers. I know it's up in the air right now on who's starting, but just give me the Bucks. I'm just calling it now. I think even if they start some of their guys, they may be maybe I don't know on a staff count, but first game back, they might not be as explosive. So give me the Bucks. Andrew, who do you guys your upset of the week?
I got the Panthers over the Giants. I think we're gonna wake up, Sunday morning, and we're gonna be surprised that Panthers came out on top. And yeah, I think the Panthers come over, win the Giants in Germany, and I think they do it by at least a touchdown.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, and Christian, do
That's
you
pretty
have the
good odds on
first?
the Panthers -6.5.
Wait, for which one?
If you think they're going to win by a touchdown, Panthers -6.5 would probably be some great odds.
Yeah,
Oh, to like flip it. Yeah, I guess you could specifically bet on Panthers winning by that. That'd be interesting.
yeah. I think they could win by a touchdown, to be honest.
Damn, that should be interesting then. See if you can make a
Yeah,
bet. All right, Christian, who do you got for your upset?
I got the Titans beating the Chargers. There's a, I think the Chargers are going to win, but let's get the Titans on the board. But
He's
this is
choosing it
the
out of spite, everyone. So let's
Yeah.
see.
Chargers MO. I've poured through the data. Statistically over the years, the Chargers always lose a heartbreaker. This is one you wouldn't expect them to lose.
So that's why they
I think
lose.
they'll probably keep it close, but
I think it's totally possible. Chargers can be up and down sometimes, so we'll see. All right, so tune in next week, see how we do with our upsets. Any prop bets from either of you guys? I did not have any. I've been kind of taking a break from prop bets just because I've lost all my money in my account on there. Um,
I'll
but
throw
yeah, do you
shade
guys have any?
on. I had one I liked. It's this new Cowboys receiver, Buddy DeChico, over 1.5 catches. That's with Cooper Rush, but
Interesting.
Okay. All right. So I want to put a little on the Cowboys game. Maybe you could do that and a Saquon touchdown. Could be something.
I
There you
think
go.
Derrick Henry gets a touchdown as well in this game against the Bengals. It just seems like any type of AFC North type of game is somewhat run heavy type of division there. So I think Derrick Henry scores a touchdown here.
Okay.
I
You
like
know what?
that.
On top of all that, I'm gonna take Joe Burrow over his passing yards. If T. Higgins is back, I think they can put it on the Dolphins. We like a close game there, but I think it should be a high scoring one. Whatever his passing yards are, take him. I'm gonna say
Joe Burrow over Baltimore. Cincinnati plays Baltimore.
right.
There
Yes, give it to me anyway.
you go.
I'm still confident. I'm still rolling with that.
Kyle
Uh,
Hamilton can't bring in the interception or what?
man, I'm hoping. I don't know, guys. I made it up on the spot, but I just forgot who they were playing. But give it to
I
me
don't.
anyway.
Hey, I don't hate it. I don't think it'll be a low scoring game.
I think the line may be a little lower because of it, and I think that they can
It's
keep it up.
267 right now. Over passing yards, Joe Burrow's at 267. It's kind of a lot in my opinion, but and they've been leaning on Chase Brown quite a
Well,
bit.
if they need this game, I think they're going to play from behind.
Hmm,
I think they're going to be airing it out. I don't think it's a blowout. So fuck it. Give me Joe Burrow over passing.
interesting.
Okay, so we have our three there. So feel free to tail, maybe do a flex play. See, be willing to lose one of them if they have to. Okay, moving into our last portion of the podcast, touchdown trivia. We'll recap the question from week 9. Who has the record for receiving yards all time for the Vikings? The options were Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Chris Carter, and Randy Moss. The correct answer was Chris Carter, someone who I believe was before our time. Or maybe like
A
when
little
did he play?
bit, but right
Yeah, a
around
little
that.
bit
I think
before
he
us.
Right
played.
around before I was
Yeah.
really
I
watching
think Randy
football like
Moss
that.
is more of our time, and Chris
Well,
Carter was just
that's what you
before
would
that.
think, right? But yeah, it
Yeah,
was Chris Carter, so he was the
yeah.
correct answer there. And then week 10, what what was the question? Cut. What was the
Who
question,
had
Andrew?
who had the most? Who had the single season rushing title for the Chargers?
All right, three, two, one. All right, and our question for week 10, who had the single season rushing title for the Chargers? The options are LaDainian Tomlinson, Paul Lowe, Ryan Matthews, and Ernest Jackson. Christian, do you for sure know the answer, or would you have to guess?
I have to guess.
Okay, so
It's a
feel free.
pretty educated guess. I don't know who the hell Paul Lowe or Ernest Jackson are. Ryan Matthews was a bum, so it'd have to be LT.
All right, LT. We'll find out next week. For all of our guests or all of our listeners, please feel free to answer it in our poll section on who you think is the who has a single season rushing title. And tune in next week to find out the answer. So that pretty much wraps up all this episode for touchdown times. I know we went a little long on this one, but hey, man, I just love talking football with you guys, and I'm glad we got to have our guest on Christian here. So thank you again, man.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for having me on. This was fun.
yeah, man, it's always a good time. And yeah, so feel free to follow and subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube. Check us out on Instagram. We'll post weekly updates on when we drop. We usually drop these on Thursday mornings, so yeah, always be on the lookout for Spotify. It's easiest if you just click follow, and then you'll automatically get it. The new episode, it'll pop up in your feed. Yeah. Anyways, thank you again, and yeah, love you guys, and we'll see you next week. This is Savvy Sav signing off.
This is Alo signing off. Tune in next week to catch the episode.
Peace.
Later.
Brees Hall's been fucking me week. Excuse me.